Security footage shows it clearly, 2:37 a.m. A man breaking into a locked warehouse, climbing into KITT, starting the engine, and driving away. But this wasn't a theft. Not exactly, because the man in the security footage was David Hasselhoff. And what happened during that drive on a dark highway outside Los Angeles would change everything he thought he knew about himself. Who did he meet on that road? What happened that made him pull over? And why did David Hasselhoff return KITT 6 hours later, a completely different man? This is the story of the night David Hasselhoff stole his own past, and the moment he finally let it go. The plan wasn't to steal anything. David was at a car show in Pasadena, a private collector's event. Invitation only. He'd been asked to attend because the collector, a man named Richard Brennan, owned 3 KITT cars, replicas, and 1 hero car from the show. David had agreed to appear, sign some autographs, take photos, the usual. But something happened during the event. David was standing next to hero car number 3, the car he'd driven in seasons 4 and 5, and a kid, maybe 12 years old, asked him a question. "Mr. Hasselhoff, did you ever just drive KITT? Like, not for the show, just for fun?" David smiled. "Sure, sometimes between takes we'd take it around the lot. But I mean really drive it, like on a real road. Did you ever just go?" David's smile faded because the answer was no. In 5 years of Night Rider, David had never just driven KITT. Not for himself. Every mile was for a scene. Every drive was scripted. He'd spent 5 years sitting in that car pretending to drive it, but he'd never actually experienced it. Not really. The thought stayed with him through the rest of the event. After it ended, after the crowds left, David stood in Richard Brennan's warehouse, looking at the cars. Richard was putting things away. David was supposed to leave, but he didn't. "Richard, can I ask you something crazy?" "Sure. Can I take KITT for a drive? Just once. Just to see what it feels like." Richard laughed. "David, these cars are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't just let you drive one." "I understand. Sorry. Stupid question." But as David walked toward his car, Richard called out, "Hey, you really never drove it? Not once. Not once. Not for real." Richard thought for a moment, then sighed. "The keys are in the ignition of Hero Car 3. I'm going to lock up the warehouse and go home. If the car happens to be gone when I come back tomorrow morning, I'm sure it'll show up eventually." David stared. "Are you serious? I'm saying I'm going home. What you do after I leave is your business." Richard left, and David stood alone in the warehouse with 3 KITT cars and a decision to make. This was crazy. This was illegal. This was breaking and entering. Theft. Auto theft of a 6-figure vehicle. But it was also a chance. One chance. To drive KITT. Really drive it. Not for a scene. Not for a show. Just for himself. At 2:37 a.m., David Hasselhoff climbed into KITT. Started the engine. The sound was exactly as he remembered. That Pontiac V8 rumble. Deep. Powerful. Real. He put it in gear and drove out of the warehouse into the Los Angeles night. The streets were empty. David drove carefully at first, getting used to the car. It handled differently than he remembered. Heavier. More responsive. On the show, they'd usually towed the car or used camera tricks. Actually driving it was different. He made his way to the Pacific Coast Highway. Empty road, ocean on one side, cliffs on the other. Perfect. David pressed the accelerator. The engine responded. 60, 70, 80. The car moved like a dream. And for the first time in 30 years, David Hasselhoff felt like Michael Knight. Not acting like him, actually being him. In control, confident, free. He drove north. No destination, no plan, just driving. Windows down, night air rushing in. The scanner light on the hood, glowing red. Everything exactly as it should be. He was 40 miles north of Los Angeles when he saw the car on the side of the road. Hazard lights flashing, hood up, smoke coming from the engine. David's first instinct was to keep driving. Not his problem. Someone else would stop. But then he thought, what would Michael Knight do? And the answer was obvious. Michael Knight would stop. Michael Knight would help. That's who Michael Knight was. David pulled over, got out, approached the broken-down car. A woman in her 30s was standing beside it, phone in hand. Scared. "You okay?" David asked. She looked up, did a double take. Are you David Hasselhoff?" "Yeah, car trouble. It just died. Started smoking and died. I called roadside assistance, but they said it'll be 2 hours. It's 2 a.m. You shouldn't wait here alone. Where are you headed?" "Santa Barbara. My mom's in the hospital. She had a stroke. I'm trying to get there." David looked at the car, then at KITT, then made a decision. "Get in. I'll drive you." "What?" "I can't, that's too much. Your mom's in the hospital. You need to get there. I've got a car and time. Get in." She hesitated, then grabbed her bag from her broken car and climbed into KITT's passenger seat. David got behind the wheel, started driving. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Then she asked, "Is this actually KITT? Like the real KITT?" "One of them. From the show. I used to watch Knight Rider with my dad. He loved that show. Loved you. Used to. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. I hadn't thought about that show in years. But sitting in this car right now, it's like he's here. Is that weird?" "No, it's not weird." They drove. She told him about her mom, about the stroke, about how scared she was. David listened, didn't offer platitudes, didn't try to fix anything, just listened and drove. About an hour into the drive, she said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why are you driving KITT at 2 a.m.? Don't you have a regular car?" David laughed. "Long story. Short version. I wanted to know what it felt like to actually drive this car. Not for a show, not for cameras, just to drive it." "And how does it feel?" David thought about it. "It feels like I'm trying to recapture something, like I'm chasing a memory, like I'm that kid who asked me earlier tonight if I'd ever really driven KITT, and I'm trying to answer yes." "Did you?" "Did I what?" "Answer yes. Does this count? Are you really driving it now?" "Yeah, I guess I am." "Then why doesn't it feel like enough?" David didn't have an answer. They drove in silence for a while. Then David asked, "Your dad, the one who watched Knight Rider, what did he like about it?" She thought. "He liked that Michael Knight helped people. No matter what, he'd say, that's what a man does. He sees someone in trouble, and he stops. I think he wanted to be like that. Someone who stops." "Was he?" "Yeah, he was. He was the guy who'd stop for strangers with car trouble, who'd help people move, who'd shovel snow off neighbors' driveways. He was that guy. Sounds like a good man." He was. And you know what's funny? When my car died tonight, when I was standing there scared and alone, I thought, what would Dad do? And I thought he'd probably flag down someone like Michael Knight. Someone who stops. And then you showed up. In KITT. Like the universe was making sure I got the message. They arrived at the hospital at 4 a.m. David pulled into the emergency entrance. She grabbed her bag. "Thank you. I don't know how to thank you enough. Just go be with your mom. That's enough." She got out, then turned back. "Mr. Hasselhoff." David, you asked why. Driving KITT doesn't feel like enough. I think it's because you're doing it alone. Michael Knight never did anything alone. He had KITT. He had people he helped. He was connected. Maybe that's what you're missing. Not the car, the connection. She walked into the hospital, and David sat in KITT's driver's seat staring at the dashboard, the scanner light, the steering wheel, and he understood. He'd spent years trying to recapture being Michael Knight, trying to own pieces of the show, trying to drive the car, trying to hold on to something that was gone. But that's not what made Michael Knight matter. What made Michael Knight matter wasn't the car. It was what he did with it, who he helped, how he showed up. And tonight, for the first time in 30 years, David hadn't been trying to be Michael Knight. He'd just done what Michael Knight would do. He'd stopped. He'd helped. He'd shown up. Not because cameras were watching. Not because it would make good content. Because someone needed help. David drove back to Los Angeles as the sun was rising. He pulled into Richard Brennan's warehouse at 8 a.m. Richard was waiting, standing next to the empty spot where KITT had been. "I was wondering if you'd bring it back," Richard said. "Of course I brought it back. Everything okay with the car?" "The car's perfect. But I need to tell you something. I didn't just drive it. I stopped and helped someone. Gave them a ride. I hope that's okay." Richard smiled. "That's more than okay. That's exactly what that car is for." David got out of KITT, looked at it one more time, and realized he didn't need to own it, didn't need to keep it, didn't need to steal it for midnight drives, because he'd finally understood what it represented. Not a car, not a memory, a principle. Stop, help, show up. "Thank you," David said. "For what?" "For letting me borrow it. For trusting me. For giving me a chance to figure something out." "What did you figure out?" "That I don't need to be Michael Knight. I just need to do what Michael Knight would do. And I can do that in any car. Or no car. It's not about the car. It never was." Richard nodded. "That's what I was hoping you'd figure out." David left the warehouse, drove home in his own car. A regular car. No scanner light. No history. Just a car. And it felt right. It felt enough. Because he wasn't Michael Knight. He'd never been Michael Knight. He was David Hasselhoff. Flawed, broken in places, but capable of showing up, capable of stopping, capable of helping. The woman texted him 3 days later. Her mom had survived, was going to recover. She wanted to thank him again. David responded, "Your dad would be proud of you for getting there. And for the record, you were right. It's not about the car. It's about showing up." She wrote back, "My dad used to say something. Heroes aren't the people with special cars or special powers. Heroes are just regular people who show up when it's hard." I think he was right. David saved that text. Still has it. Because that's what he'd been missing. That's what he'd been chasing. Not the car. Not the fame. Not the memory. Just the simple act of showing up. Of being the person who stops. Of helping when help is needed. He never stole KITT again. Didn't need to. Because he'd gotten what he needed from what? That drive. Not the thrill of driving an iconic car. The reminder of who he wanted to be. Not Michael Knight. Just someone who shows up. Someone who stops. Someone who helps. That's the legacy. Not the car, not the show, the principle. And David Hasselhoff finally understood that. Took him stealing a car at 2 a.m. and driving it up the Pacific Coast Highway to figure it out. But he figured it out. He's told this story a few times now, in interviews, in conversations, and people always ask, "Did you really steal KITT?" And David always answers the same way. "I borrowed it, and it gave me back something more valuable than I ever gave it. It gave me clarity. It gave me purpose. It gave me the reminder that being a hero isn't about the car you drive. It's about stopping when someone needs help." That's what happened on that highway. That's what changed David Hasselhoff forever. Not driving KITT, but understanding what KITT always represented. A tool, a means, a way to show up and help. And David didn't need KITT to do that. He just needed to remember that stopping, helping, showing up, that's what makes you a hero. Not a car, not fame, just the willingness to be there when someone needs you. David Hasselhoff stole KITT for one last drive. And on that highway, he met someone who reminded him who he was supposed to be. Not Michael Knight, just a man who stops when someone needs help. And that was enough. That had always been enough.